Imagine waiting for your bus when suddenly the lights flicker, the temperature drops, and you realize you're not alone. Across the UK, some bus stations aren't just stops for travelers, they're haunted by restless spirits. From phantom passengers to ghostly workers still clocking in, these transport hubs hide chilling secrets. Tonight, we're counting down the 10 most haunted bus stations with real ghost stories that will make you think twice about your next late-night journey. Don't watch this alone, and whatever you do, don't miss the last stop. Let's begin. Want more real haunted tales? Subscribe now and help us hit 1K. Your support keeps the scares coming, if you dare. 1 Victoria Coach Station. London Victoria Coach Station in London is one of the busiest transport hubs in the UK, but it also has a reputation for being haunted. Over the years, staff and late-night travellers have reported strange and unexplained occurrences that suggest the station might be home to restless spirits. The most common ghostly sightings involve shadowy figures, sudden cold spots, and the sound of phantom footsteps when no one is around. One of the most famous stories is about a ghostly woman in old-fashioned clothing who has been seen wandering near the ticket counters and empty platforms. Witnesses say she appears lost, as if waiting for a coach that never arrives. Some believe she might have been a passenger from decades ago who died tragically, possibly in an accident, and now lingers. In the station, staff members working late shifts have reported seeing her vanish into thin air when approached. Another eerie phenomenon is the sound of children laughing and running in the waiting area when the station is nearly empty. Security guards checking CCTV cameras have sometimes seen blurry figures moving in the background, but when they investigate, there is no one there. Some workers refuse to patrol certain areas alone at night because they feel an unseen presence watching them. There have also been reports of unexplained banging noises, particularly around the old storage rooms and maintenance areas. Engineers have searched for the source but found nothing. Some believe these sounds could be linked to past tragedies or deaths connected to the station, though no official records confirm this. Victoria Coach Station was built in 1932 and has seen millions of travellers pass through its gates. With such a long history, it's no surprise that ghostly tales have emerged. Whether these stories are just urban legends or signs of real paranormal activity, they add a chilling layer to this busy transport hub. Many who have experienced these strange events swear that Victoria Coach Station is more than just a place for buses. It's a place where the past never truly leaves. To Birmingham Coach Station. Birmingham Coach Station, located in the heart of the city, is known not just for its busy travel routes, but also for its eerie ghost stories. Over the years, both staff and passengers have reported strange happenings that suggest the station might be haunted. The most common sightings include shadowy figures, unexplained cold spots, and the sound of disembodied voices when the station is quiet. One of the most persistent tales is about a ghostly man in a long coat who has been seen walking through the station late at night. Witnesses describe him as tall and pale, often seen near the old ticket booths or standing silently on empty platforms. Some believe he might be the spirit of a traveller who died in an accident decades ago, forever waiting for a bus that will never come. Security guards have reported seeing him on CCTV, only for the figure to vanish seconds later. Another unsettling story involves the sound of a crying child in the women's restroom. Cleaners and late-night passengers have heard faint sobbing coming from locked stalls, but when they check, no one is inside. Some say it could be the ghost of a child who became separated from their family long ago and now lingers in the station, lost and alone. Others claim to have felt a small, icy hand tugging at their clothes, only to turn and find nothing there. The station's underground tunnels and storage areas are also hotspots for paranormal activity. Workers have reported hearing footsteps echoing behind them when no one else is around, along with sudden drops in temperature. Some refuse to go into certain areas alone, convinced they are being watched by something unseen. There are even stories of tools and equipment moving on their own, as if pushed by invisible hands. Birmingham coach station has been in operation since the 1930s, and with so many people passing through over the decades, it's no surprise that it has gathered its share of ghostly tales. Whether these stories are just tricks of the mind or something more supernatural, they continue to send chills down the spines of those who experience them. For many, the station is not just a place of travel, it's a place where the past seems to linger just out of sight. 3 Leeds City Bus Station. Leeds City Bus Station might seem like any other busy transport hub during the day, but as night falls, strange things begin to happen. Workers and late-night travelers have reported ghostly encounters that make this place one of the most haunted bus stations in the UK. The most common sightings involve shadowy figures moving between empty buses, unexplained whispers in deserted waiting areas, and sudden drops in temperature that leave people shivering even in warm weather. One of the most famous ghosts here is known as the Grey Lady. She has been spotted multiple times wandering near the old ticket offices, dressed in clothing from the 1940s or 1950s. Witnesses say she looks lost, as if searching for someone who never arrived. Some believe she might have been a passenger who died tragically in a long-forgotten accident, while others think she could be a former employee still tied to the station. Several security guards have reported seeing her on CCTV, only for her to disappear when they go to investigate. Another unsettling story involves the sound of a child's laughter echoing through the station late at night. Cleaners and maintenance workers have heard it, often coming from the upper levels or empty corridors. When they check, there's never anyone there. Some say it's the ghost of a little boy who went missing decades ago, forever playing in the place where he was last seen. Others have claimed to feel a small, cold hand grab theirs, only to turn and find nothing but empty air. The station's underground passages are also known for strange activity. Workers have reported footsteps following them when no one else is around, along with the feeling of being watched. Some have even seen dark figures darting just out of sight, vanishing when approached. There are also stories of buses starting their engines on their own or doors slamming shut with no explanation, as if an unseen force is at work. Leeds City Bus Station has been around since the mid-20th century, and with so many people passing through over the years, it's no surprise that some may have left something behind. Whether these stories are just urban legends or something more, they've become a part of the station's history. For those who have experienced the unexplained, the station is more than just a place to catch a bus. It's a place where the past might still be lingering in the shadows. For Bristol Bus and Coach Station. Bristol Bus and Coach Station has been a busy transport hub since it opened in the 1950s. But beneath its ordinary daytime bustle lies a darker reputation. Over the years, numerous staff members and late-night passengers have reported unsettling encounters that suggest the station may be haunted. The most common reports include shadowy figures spotted in peripheral vision, sudden icy chills in warm areas, and unexplained sounds of footsteps or voices when no one else is around. One of the most persistent ghost stories involves a spectral figure known as the Night Watchman, despite the station no longer employing overnight security. Multiple witnesses claim to have seen an elderly man in an old-fashioned uniform slowly walking the platforms late at night. Staff who have approached him say he simply vanishes when he rounds corners. Some believe he might be the ghost of a former employee who died on duty decades ago, still patrolling the station out of habit. Several drivers preparing early morning routes have reported seeing his faint outline through bus windows, only for him to disappear when they look again. Another eerie phenomenon occurs in the station's restrooms, where visitors frequently report hearing sobs or whispers coming from empty stalls. Cleaning staff have found taps running full blast with no one nearby, and some claim to have seen a pale face reflected in mirrors when the room is supposedly empty. The most disturbing accounts come from women who describe feeling invisible, hands pulling their hair, or touching their shoulders before the sensation suddenly stops. The station's underground storage areas and maintenance tunnels are considered particularly haunted. Workers report tools going missing and reappearing in strange places, lights flickering without explanation, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched in certain spots. Some refuse to work alone in these areas after experiencing sudden temperature drops or hearing disembodied breathing nearby. One mechanic swore he saw a set of footprints appear in the dust ahead of him, as if someone invisible was walking toward him before the impressions abruptly stopped. With Bristol's long history dating back to medieval times, and the station being built on land that once held much older buildings, some paranormal investigators suggest these hauntings could be connected to tragedies from centuries past. Whether these stories are products of overactive imaginations or genuine supernatural occurrences, they've become part of local folklore. For those who work late shifts or find themselves waiting alone at night, Bristol bus and coach station can feel like a place where the barrier between past and present grows strangely thin. The station continues to operate as normal, but many believe it does so with ghostly passengers and staff who never truly left Manchester Shoehill. Interchange Manchester's Shoehill interchange bustles with activity by day, but as night falls, an eerie atmosphere settles over the modern transport hub. Staff and late-night travelers have reported enough strange occurrences to make many believe the site is haunted. The most common reports include shadowy figures darting between empty buses, unexplained cold spots that make people shiver suddenly, and the sound of phantom footsteps echoing across deserted platforms. One of the most persistent ghost stories involves a woman in 1940s-style clothing who appears near the taxi rank at night. Witnesses describe her standing motionless, staring blankly at the road as if waiting for someone. When approached, she simply vanishes. Some believe she might be connected to the area's tragic past. Shoehill was once home to a Victorian workhouse and burial ground, with thousands of pauper graves beneath what is now the bus station. Drivers have reported seeing her reflection in their rearview mirrors, only for it to disappear when they turn around. Another unsettling phenomenon occurs in the underground. Walkways connecting the interchange to nearby buildings, cleaners and security guards frequently report hearing whispers and children's laughter when no one else is present. Some have felt invisible hands tugging at their uniforms or equipment. The laughter often seems to come from just around corners, but investigation reveals empty corridors. Several CCTV operators have reported seeing blurry figures moving through these passageways on camera, but when guards check, they find nothing. The most disturbing accounts come from bus drivers preparing early morning routes. Many report seeing phantom passengers sitting on parked buses, figures that vanish when the driver boards. One veteran driver swears he saw an entire bus full of shadowy figures through the windows, but when he opened the doors, the vehicle was completely empty. Others have reported their bus's emergency alarms activating by themselves, especially near the old burial ground section of the site. Shoehill's modern glass and steel structure belies its haunted reputation. Built in the early 2000s on land with a dark history dating back to Manchester's Industrial Revolution, the Interchange seems to have carried forward some spectral remnants of the past. Whether these stories stem from overactive imaginations or genuine paranormal activity, they've become part of local lore. For those who work late shifts or find themselves alone at the Interchange after dark, there's often a sense that they're not quite as alone as they should be, that unseen eyes watch from the shadows of this busy transport hub. 6 Glasgow Buchanan Bus Station. Glasgow's Buchanan bus station, one of Scotland's busiest transport hubs, holds more than just travellers within its concrete walls. Since opening in the 1970s, staff and passengers have reported chilling encounters that suggest the station may be home to restless spirits. The most common reports involve shadowy figures spotted in peripheral vision, sudden drops in temperature in specific spots, and unexplained sounds of footsteps or voices when areas are deserted. One of the most persistent ghost stories centers around a spectral figure known as the Grey Man. Witnesses describe seeing a tall, thin man in outdated clothing standing motionless near platform 23, which serves long-distance overnight coaches. Several drivers have reported seeing him board buses late at night, only for the figure to vanish when they check their mirrors. Station cleaners claim to have found seats damp with condensation where he's been seen sitting, despite the heating being on. Some believe he may be connected to a fatal accident that occurred during the station's construction in the 1970s. The station's underground toilets are another hotspot for paranormal activity. Numerous visitors have reported hearing their name whispered when alone, or seeing a pale face reflected in the mirrors behind them. Maintenance workers have found taps running at full pressure with no one nearby, and several have reported seeing wet footprints appear on dry floors, trailing into empty stalls. One security guard quit after claiming something invisible pushed him against a wall in the restroom area. Perhaps most disturbing are the reports from late shift workers about the crying child. Several staff members have heard a child sobbing near the station's old storage areas, which were once part of Glasgow's medieval meat market. When investigated, the sound always seems to come from just around the next corner before stopping abruptly. Some paranormal investigators believe this could be residual energy from the station's location on what was once part of Glasgow's old marketplace, where many children worked in Victorian times. Buchanan bus station's modern appearance hides layers of history beneath its concrete floors. Built on land that has been used for transportation and commerce for centuries, it seems some echoes of the past refuse to fade away, while skeptics dismiss the stories. Those who've experienced the station's ghostly phenomena swear there's more to Buchanan than meets the eye. The station continues to operate as normal, but many workers approach certain areas with unease, especially after dark when the crowds thin and the building's unseen occupants seem to become more active. Whether these experiences are tricks of the mind or something more supernatural, they've become an undeniable part of the station's character. 7 Liverpool Canning Place Bus Station. Liverpool's Canning Place bus station may no longer exist today, but its ghost stories live on in the memories of those who worked there before its demolition in the 1990s to make way for redevelopment. This busy transport hub was notorious among staff for its unsettling paranormal activity. The most frequently reported phenomena included unexplained footsteps echoing through empty corridors, shadow figures darting between parked buses, and sudden temperature drops that left workers shivering in the middle of summer. One of the most chilling accounts involved a phantom bus that would appear late at night. Several night shift workers reported seeing an old-fashioned double-decker bus pull into the station after service hours, its interior lights glowing dimly. When approached, the vehicle would vanish into thin air. Some veteran drivers claimed to recognize it as a 1950s model that had been involved in a fatal crash years earlier. The sightings were so frequent that staff developed an informal rule: if you saw the ghost bus, you didn't acknowledge it, just went about your work as if nothing was there. The station's underground tunnels were considered particularly haunted. Maintenance workers refused to go down alone after multiple reports of invisible hands grabbing at their overalls and tools being snatched from their grasp. One electrician swore he saw a pair of legs walking past him at eye level while he worked. Beneath a bus, impossible given the clearance space. Others reported hearing what sounded like a crowd of people murmuring in the distance, growing louder then suddenly cutting off, as if a door to the past had briefly opened and closed. Perhaps the most tragic ghost story involved a young woman in 1960s clothing who would appear near the lost property office. Witnesses described her looking confused and distressed, sometimes asking staff about departure times for buses that hadn't run in decades. Some believe she may have been a victim of one of Liverpool's unsolved murders from the 1960s, eternally waiting for a ride that would never come. Security guards reported seeing her reflection in windows, but when they turned to look directly at her, she would be gone, though Canning Place bus station is now gone. Some paranormal investigators believe the spirits may have moved to the new Liverpool 1 bus station built nearby. Taxi drivers working the night shift near the old site still report seeing strange lights and shadowy figures where the station once stood. The area's long history as a transport hub, stretching back to Liverpool's days as a major port city, seems to have left indelible marks that even demolition couldn't erase. For those who remember the old station, its ghost stories remain a haunting reminder of Liverpool's rich and sometimes tragic past. 8 Edinburgh Bus Station, St Andrew Square. Edinburgh's St Andrew Square bus station, nestled in the heart of Scotland's historic capital, has long been a hotspot for paranormal activity. Beneath its modern glass structures lies land steeped in centuries of history, and many believe some of that past still lingers. Staff and passengers have reported numerous unsettling encounters over the years, from shadowy figures moving between buses to unexplained cold spots that seem to follow people through the station. One of the most persistent sightings is bet of a Victorian gentleman in a long black coat, often seen standing near the taxi rank at night. Witnesses describe him as pale and solemn, staring intently at buses as they arrive and depart. When approached, he simply vanishes into thin air. Some believe he may be connected to the square's dark past. St Andrew Square was once home to a plague burial ground in the 17th century and later became the site of public executions. Several bus drivers have reported seeing his gaunt face peering through their windows late at night, only for him to disappear when they look again. The station's underground walkways are another hotspot for strange occurrences. Cleaners frequently report hearing the sound of children laughing and running when the corridors are completely empty. Some have seen small shadowy figures darting around corners, always just out of sight. The laughter often seems to come from all directions at once before suddenly stopping, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. Security guards checking CCTV footage have sometimes spotted unexplained orbs of light floating through these passageways, moving with purpose before vanishing. Perhaps the most chilling reports come from late-night staff who work alone. Many describe feeling an invisible presence standing close behind them, sometimes accompanied by the sensation of cold breath on their necks. Others have heard disembodied whispers in broad Scottish accents, often speaking just a single word or phrase before falling silent. Some drivers preparing early morning routes have arrived to find their buses already running, despite having the only keys. When they board to investigate, the engines mysteriously cut out on their own. Edinburgh is known as one of the most haunted cities in the world, and St Andrew Square bus station seems to carry on that tradition. Built on land with a long and often tragic history, the station appears to be a crossroads where the past occasionally bleeds into the present. Whether these experiences are tricks of the mind or something more supernatural, they've become part of the station's identity. For those who work there, especially during the quiet hours of night, there's always the possibility that they might encounter one of the station's more permanent if invisible residents. The stories persist because the experiences feel undeniably real to those who have them, adding another layer to Edinburgh's rich tapestry of ghostly lore.